Imagine this. When you think of a mayor, you probably think of an older guy in a suit, grey hairs, all boring stuff. But actually, no. Today, we flipping got the youngest mayor that we've had ever in Lambeth. So give it up for Dr. Hashi and John Paul Ennis, aka the mayor of Lambeth. Or should I say the youngest mayor of Lambeth. Hello guys, how we doing?
All good, brother.
Yeah, good.
All good? Talk to us. How's it been today?
Been a bit of a long one, but this is the highlight today.
Is it?
This is the highlight.
Nice to hear that. Happy to hear that, guys.
Yeah, for me, I was kicking ball earlier, so I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You
I'm a
having
bit tired.
What's your schedule like today, guys, if you don't mind me asking?
Today's been quite a light day, if I'm honest with you. I've done a bit of casework, responded to some emails, but mainly went swimming, gym. So I'm feeling energized.
Yeah, you guys getting that
Personally,
that
like
exercise
I mean,
in,
today
yeah?
was like a bit of a recovery day because weekend was mad hectic. We had Remembrance Sunday yesterday.
Okay,
And so I was
okay.
out from 8 in the morning doing like services and then loads of different events, laying reefs, speaking, all of that stuff. So today was a football day, which with another organisation, just meeting them, seeing what they do.
Okay,
So it's still mayoral responsibility, but a bit more chill.
So today you could say your Sunday is kind of today. Your chill day was a bit more today than yesterday,
because
right?
that's what you were just saying. That,
Yeah, so today felt like a Sunday. I was saying to him on the way here.
It's all a
Don't know
concept,
why.
isn't it? At the end
Yeah,
of the day.
time is a social
100%.
construct, man, doesn't
Absolutely.
Ooh, getting deep in it.
Early on,
Just-
not early
just
doors.
started.
Early doors.
You just
I
touch
say,
the
what is
surface.
time?
Like, you just touch the surface, guys, man. Taking an easy one.
Mhm.
So, talk to us. Talk to the people. Talk to me. I have a question for you, right?
Mhm.
How does it feel to be the youngest in charge? And I want to give you your flowers as well, because we as human beings, right, we don't realize when sometimes history is made. We're so caught up in the moment, right, that we don't realize, oh, something big is happening here right now. But because we're living it here right now, we don't pay attention to it. So let's just say 10 years down the line, we probably look at this moment and be like, look, this was a historic moment within what you guys are doing. Do you know what I mean? Being the youngest one in charge. So talk to us, talk to the people. How does that feel? Like, do you think about it? Do you sleep on it? Do you realize that you're doing something big? Or you just kind of get on with it?
Well, I'm going to think about it now. A historical moment, that sounds cool. I think I knew I was going to be the youngest mayor we've ever had in Lambeth when I was about to become mayor. So I knew I was getting into. My name is on the board as a list of mayors in the town hall, so that's there forever. So that felt like a historical moment when I saw that up there. But for me, the big thing about me is that I want to do is inspire some other young people. So I'm hoping someone will come through in the next few years and break my record. I'm 27, which is not that young. And for me to be the youngest mayor, I'm hoping that we'll get someone that's like 22, 23 at least coming through in the next couple of years. So we've got some young people we're working with that we're trying to encourage to get involved in some of the local politics stuff. So hopefully this isn't the max it's going to be or the youngest it's going to be. Hopefully this is just the start of the journey of getting more young people involved and breaking those barriers.
Yeah, because records are there to be broken
Exactly.
eventually, right? But
Yeah.
like I said, I want to give you your flowers.
Thank you very
in
much.
person.
Can I say something which is off topic? Yeah. You know, like you're saying that, like we're looking for younger mayors and stuff like that. But would they have like the understanding in order to make those critical decisions?
So as mayor, let me clarify. My position as mayor is not. I don't have any decision making power. In my position as mayor, I'm a civic mayor. So my role is I'm the figurehead of the borough, and we do a lot of things with communities, charity work, and raising awareness about issues, but also trying to support and basically bring the community together and uplift a lot of the positive stuff that's going on. So I don't have any decision making responsibility. I chair full council meetings, so I sit on the throne. If you've ever been in the council chamber, it's a big red chair in the middle. At the top, I sit in that, and I'm basically in charge of running the meetings, chairing them, making sure everyone gets their time to speak.
So
And
I love how you didn't answer the question
what?
at all.
No, but I don't have decision making power. So I'm just clarifying what my role is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but what I think Ryan was asking is in terms of other young people, like would they be allowed in without a lack of experience and lack of knowledge, etc. And what it is with this job, when we became councillors, it's like you learn on the job.
100%.
Everything's it's an immersive experience. You know what I mean? And And for me, I feel like we have to get to a place where we trust our young people a lot more with taking up those positions and taking up those responsibilities. And in the past, for me, young people always told, no, not yet. No, you have to do X, Y, and Z first, and you have to learn this. And it's not true. The best teacher is, I think, experience. And so going back to your question, I think young people, we need to encourage them to be involved in all aspects of society, because 27 shouldn't be the youngest mayor ever. Do you know what I mean? That's like, you've gone into adulthood, you've kind of been impacted.
Aye.
Yeah, you've been impacted by the traumas of life. You know what I mean? I would love to see younger people involved. We've got a young person in Parliament right now, don't we? A member of Parliament. I think he was, 18?
Sounds crazy. I mean, that's a bit too young maybe for Parliament, though.
Oh, look at you creating barriers for young people.
I'm joking.
Don't cut that out, you know. Make sure that stays on. Wow.
Nah. But do you know what it is like?
After all that talk about records being broken and that, you know.
Yeah.
Nah,
I'm joking. But I think for me, when I was 18, I remember thinking, yo, I want to be Prime Minister at like 30. I want to be an MP by the time I'm like this age. I would have already been an MP kind of thing. But then I remember people telling me to slow down and saying what you're talking about. And I think I agree with what you're saying. Like, we need to trust our young people a lot more. They have a lot of experience. Everyone talks about life experience. Some of our young people have gone through crazy stuff that people who are way older than them, 10, 20 years plus, have not gone through. They don't have necessarily the same life experience in terms of longevity, but doesn't mean it's any less filled or rich. And so 100%, I think, when I first became a councillor, I didn't know what was going on. I knew I wanted to get involved because I cared, and that I wanted to have the opportunity to help represent my community. But it doesn't necessarily mean I knew the inner workings of what the council looks like.
Just hold that for 1 second, because I was going to ask you, what made you become a mayor? Like, why? What was your first introduction to this world, you know, as a young person? What would you say, at what point did it spark that idea?
To become mayor or to become a councillor?
Councillor, just in general, how did you get into this?
So my background, I didn't care about politics,
Right.
I was involved in like, I just wanted to be a footballer, or I wanted to be a physiotherapist if that failed, and then, or a football coach. So I was doing a little coaching with Lambeth Tigers.
Okay.
And then I was like, football was going to be my thing because I'm obsessed with it. I'm a big Arsenal fan. And then when I was 17, my mum passed away. My first year, sixth form, just a few days after my birthday. And then I remember having this feeling of like my mum was a really good person and everything, but the next day when I went to school, no one really cared. Like, there were people around me that knew cared, but like the world moved on basically.
Yeah.
I had this big crisis of like legacy and not wanting to be forgotten. So when I was 17, I had this big moment. I was like, I want to do something that leaves a mark that I can be remembered for. So then I started getting involved, became a bit of like a yes man. I started getting involved in everything locally, anything I could just to make a difference. And then, got involved with this program called the Advocacy Academy. So it's a youth social justice program. They take you when you're like 17 and they put you on a journey of learning about different social justice issues, how to tackle them. And they kind of empower young people to be able to make a positive impact. And then 2021, I was getting a bit fed up of always talking to someone in a position of power. But I want to be on the other side of the table making those decisions. So then I got involved and managed to get elected as a councillor in 2022, and then saw the potential of what I think the mayor could be with engaging young people, and then got elected this year.
Wow. That's a story.
Yeah, it's long though.
That's a story. Interesting. So what would you say to people that think, politics is not necessarily for young people? What would you guys say to that?
It has to be for young people. The young people are the future. And I think we need to get out of the kind of mode of trying to make decisions for young people as if they don't know or they haven't got the capacity to know. And I think there's as JP was saying, I think that we've got a big problem with legacy. Sometimes as older people, we're always trying to hang on to relevance and hang on to the spaces that we're supposed to be cultivating for young people. And I think that's the problem. We should, like, as councillors, we shouldn't have a kind of, you know, every age for me has got a place and a role to play.
Right.
But I feel like there ain't no role for young people currently. And sometimes that's part of the narrative we give them as well. We're always telling them off and we're always telling them not to, you know, aim so high and be realistic and stuff like that, rather than, you know, saying to them, you can do whatever you want.
You don't feel like that's been said enough? you can do what you want as a young person? You don't think we have the opportunity to do...
The best example I can give is when I was younger and, you know, we had some really talented people around in terms of football.
Right.
And all the parents were like, nope, lawyer, doctor, pilot, you know, that's it. Footballer weren't even really that. And then you look at footballers getting 300 grand a week, 600 grand a week.
But they were getting that type of money back in those days.
No, but they see, not really. If you look at it, that's...
You don't know how old he is yet.
No,
not his gender.
Right, this how you hate the 18-year-olds anyway, so I don't know who you're fighting for. But no, my thing is, like, when I talk about my generation, I feel like even up until now, it's only now that people's really seen the potential of the football industry.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only now that every child is in an academy and every child is trying to get signed, etc., because they see the potential in it. But when young people were seeing the potential in something they were passionate about, we didn't encourage it because it was our narrow views that we imposed on them. But you're only successful if you do these certain kind of professions. And for me, sometimes, like, when we look at young people now, their thing is streaming and gaming.
Right.
And the industry in terms of what success looks like, there's nuts. But right now, you've got lots of parents that don't really buy into it because I don't feel like we listen to our young people no more. Sometimes they can see what's coming, they can see the changes, and they get on it. Like when you look at things like Twitch.
Right.
Oh, now I don't know what Twitch is. I'm not going to lie.
It's a live stream. There's a thing
but
they live stream and stuff.
It's a bit too much for me. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But these young people, they'll be buying little things and these little converters, and you plug this in and they're really excited when something new comes out and they plug... I don't know what's going on. But you see, if a young person says to me, that's what I want to do, I'll be like...
So do you have any kids? Sorry, do you have any kids?
Nah.
So you'll be happy if you're... Sorry?
I feel like I've got bare adopted kids.
Nice to hear that. But if your son comes up to you and says, I want to be a Twitch streamer right now, right? You say, okay, do what you have to do.
No, I'll say, sell it to me. What does that mean?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? What does that mean? What do you need? What does success look? You know, go through almost like a business planning with
But because
them.
you're aware of how it has influenced the young people. You're working with them too, though.
No, but I think it's not because
How do you convince? What I'm saying is, how do you convince, let's say, my parents or their parents or the people that are watching right now, you still have that mentality of like, no, I need you to be a lawyer, I need you to be a doctor, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, I need you to get all your degrees. Yet there is people making possibly like millions and whatnot doing Twitch. You probably heard the names of Kai Cenat and all these guys doing that. How do you then sell that to the parents?
So for me, I wouldn't be selling that to the parents. What I'll be selling to the parents is to listen to your child, explore some of the ideas they come up with, like actually become a partner for your child. Does that make sense? Because especially younger children, they're still going to need that protection that a parent can give, even if you're their manager, even if you take up a position as their agent, etc. But a lot of us don't listen to our children because we don't think they have value in terms of their opinions. And that's what I think is, I would encourage parents to challenge themselves to actually listen to what your child is saying. When they're saying they want a PS5, what do they want a PS5 for? It's, the traditional view of that is they just want to play. Not that they're going online and they're entering competition, they're actually really good.
Yeah.
You know, your child, if you say to your child, what do you want the new FIFA for? And they say, well, the last one I was, the 5th best in the country. And you're like, what? I thought you was just playing.
Yeah, of course.
Because we're not really investing time in that. And for me, especially with the social media era that we're in, you really have to be a bit more involved in what your children are doing online from the safety aspect anyway. So I think it's just really, I think, a partnership.
Would you reckon the parents should take that conversation to their children, or you think the young people, we can take that conversation to the parents too?
I think the channel should be open both ways. Okay. And I think that's part of being a good parent, is making sure those channels are clear. I think that responsibility really sits with the parents.
I understand where you're coming from, but I think there's still a lot of parents and a generation that still believes in the old way, if that makes sense.
I think that's like because of their understanding, right? So it's like they have a traditional mindset of, and it's more like because a parent cares for their child, they want to protect them, they want them to have that safety net of education because there's something to fall back on.
Exactly.
So I think as a young person, even if your parent is not listening to your dream because they don't get it right now, take them on that journey, like Hashi's kind of saying, but also concede a little bit of ground on it. So like do it. Don't stop pursuing what you're trying to do, but also kind of compromise. So say, okay, that doesn't mean I'm not going to stop taking my studies seriously. I'm not going to now focus on my GCSEs and my A-levels. You get
Just
me?
gonna play FIFA all day.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to be a bang out 24/7 and not revise, which is what I kind of do,
okay.
not going to lie.
Find some middle
But
ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So kind of work with them to kind of bring them towards you a little bit. Because you're not going to change their mind just by being stubborn and saying, no, but you don't get me, man. I misunderstood, blah, blah, blah.
And I think the best thing about it is that it gives you leverage as well.
100%.
If you're saying to the kid, well, you can play FIFA like after school if you do your homework.
Yeah.
That homework is getting done before they even have dinner.
No, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
because
true.
you're giving them the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reward. Do you know what I mean? And we used to have that when we was younger in terms of playing football. You can't go and play out or play football unless you've done your chores.
Right.
You're rushing in the house to do chores.
Yeah,
Do you
all
know
of
what I
us,
mean?
definitely.
Yeah, so-
definitely. Ryan, you as a parent, what do you think about what you just said? If your son comes up to you and says, look, I want to be a Twitch streamer, I want to play games, or what do you think?
To be honest with you, I'm stuck in the middle. I'm not gonna lie to you.
'Cause
And
you know what,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a bit traditional. Because the thing is, I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but like I think I still live with the concept of like I would rather my son be a doctor or a lawyer or
So
accountant.
have you seen like all the NHS strikes and stuff?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's because they're not getting paid enough.
But like
So that's why you're pushing your child.
No, but you know what it is? It's even like this, like the Kais and that,
empathy.
and like my thing is this is like even like we don't want to go like say for instance with the young Philly thing, for instance, right? All of that lifestyle. When like I think you base your life on those kind of things, the plug can easily be pulled. Do you understand what I'm getting at? So I'll
But I
rather.
think the gaming's different though, because for me, gaming is an industry. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily. It's like what Kais and that and those people do. They've based everything around themselves. They've become the brand. And I feel like when we talk about gaming, for me, it opens the doors to things like coding. It opens the doors to being, you know, them people that go and test different aspects of gaming. It's a whole industry that's untouched because previously children and young people who are the main consumers have never been involved in the production and the creation of these things. And I think that's, as you said, it's when you have a traditional mind frame, it's hard to open that up. For me, when we look at getting into law, you know, for example, being a pilot, that's something that I wanted to do until I found out how much it cost to become a pilot, and then how much it costs to keep your pilot's license, how many miles you have to do or how many hours you have to. Do you know what I mean? It got really complex.
Even study and
okay.
get into that place.
Yeah, so if like based on that, if I reframe, like to be honest with you, I would want my child to be as good in the front as the back end. If you understand what I'm getting at.
I can't lie, I don't get what you just said.
No. So say for instance, like
That sounded a bit crazy.
See, I was trying my best not to get
Yeah, I can't lie. I don't know what the vibe is. I don't know if I can.
So basically what I'm saying is that say for instance like understanding like being in front of the camera like you're saying playing the computer right, and actually understanding everything that happens in like I'm trying not to say like anything to throw anybody off that happens at the other side of like do you understand what I'm getting at?
But I feel like that's where there's an opportunity to collaborate with your child. Do you know what I mean? Because they wouldn't necessarily understand some of the dangers. They can see the benefits and they can see the root of the front end of it. And I think it's really important that you've got someone that you can trust kind of coordinating everything for you. And that's what I was saying to Jordy is that's what I would encourage parents to look at is a partnership where you can sit down with your child and say, look, you said you want to, you know, play FIFA, but I looked online and FIFA's not really that popular and, you know, it doesn't really get watched that much and the kind of audience for that is not great. Why don't you think about playing something? Do you know what I mean?
It's an example, by the way.
As an
Just
example.
people. Just
FIFA
an example. Because FIFA is like top out there, innit?
No,
You're gonna
but
have
FIFA
people.
don't exist no more. That's why I was using it as an example.
Oh,
rather
right,
than,
right. No, it's EA now.
innit?
Do you see what I'm saying? I won't plugging them because they ain't paying you, lot, you know what I mean? So that's why I was saying FIFA, as in that's what it used to be called. But for me, it's like you've got other, you know, other games.
That's a good point though. I've never thought about it like that. But that's if you come to your parent and say, I want to do this, this and that, and your parent decides, do you know what? I'll look into it.
100%.
Now we have a start. We have a door that has opened. Like he said,
100%.
cool, I don't see you playing games for the rest of your life, but maybe, like you said, that can lead to coding. That can lead to something else, hacking, coding, all of that type of world.
Ethical hacking, by the way.
Yeah, ethical
innit?
hacking. No,
Just wanna clarify.
there's both types of hacking, but yeah.
I'm just I'm not encouraging criminality. I just want to
No, because
clarify.
I didn't know. I thought hacking was bad, straight up.
Yeah.
I thought the word hacking means it's bad, right?
kinda
But then
is.
someone kind of explained to me, you have good hackers, you got bad hackers,
Yeah.
and there's a whole world within that I don't know
So,
much
yes,
about.
So companies pay hackers
Exactly,
to
to
hack their
protect-
own systems
yeah.
just to see where the gaps are.
Exactly.
So just
or
to
to protect
clarify.
them as well and stuff like that.
I just wanted to clarify, you know.
No, it's true. But we learn
Yeah.
stuff every day, no, 100%. But yeah, exactly. So that opens up the door for something else, for a collaboration. Okay, I want you to do this, but you want to do this. Is there a middle ground, or why do you want to do this?
Yeah.
Or are you actually really, really good at this, and I don't even know that you're really good at
And
this?
for me, otherwise, what happens is you find yourself in a position where your child doesn't trust bringing ideas to you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for me, it's almost an opportunity to build a deeper relationship
As well, yeah.
where they're getting business ideas, or like they've got ideas that they want to float, and they're not just gonna try and find someone that might not have their interests at heart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my encouragement to parents is just listen to them, give them an opportunity to present that idea. If you're not happy with how they're presenting it, tell them to go away and present in a way that you're happy with. But don't just become the barrier because you don't like it, or you don't understand it, or you don't see the value in it. I think that's not a great way to go about building those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've opened up a really,
Have I won your
really good
round?
thought.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it.
your kid play some FIFA.
Yeah. I talked to his mum about that.
So, as a mayor, right, what's your day-to-day like? What's your schedule looking like? On a weekly basis, on a daily basis?
It's different every week. So every day I'm at different events, meeting with different organizations, having meetings about planning some interesting creative work with people. So there's no set day. Like, for example, like last week, I was at doing loads of things. Remember It Sunday yesterday. Then on Saturday, I was at the Lord Mayor's show, which is like a massive parade in central London.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw the BBC cameras there. They were recording the whole thing. Then I think earlier in the week, on Thursday, we were here, but also we were with Big Nasty as well. And then on like Wednesday or Tuesday, I was doing citizenship ceremonies. So every 2 weeks on a Tuesday, I do a load of citizenship ceremonies for people in Lambeth. So I get to give them their certificate, which is like a quite...
So would you say
Nice.
your schedule's more based around other events and what other people have planned than actually
So
yourself?
what people invite me to, or what... if I'm having any strategic conversations and meetings with people, then I'll book them in.
Right.
But it's a lot that you get so many invitations as mayor. People want to come have a chat with you
I was
about
going to
so many
say,
different
what's
things,
your
yeah.
email looking like? Do you have someone who looks
Yeah.
after your
So
stuff?
I have a
and stuff
support
like that?
team around me. So it's
Right.
not just me. So if someone emails the office,
Right.
it's not me that replies to their email. I sit down with the team. We meet.
So many people are going to be disappointed with that.
Nah. But the joy is we chat. Me and the team chat. We look at different events and we go back and forth, and then we work stuff
And
out
then you
together.
decide, right?
Yeah, some stuff. But some things obviously they just take. The
Can you
lead
just
on.
go a little bit deeper on what your responsibilities are, just for anyone who you might, inspire?
Yeah. So for me, I'm the first citizen of the borough, officially. So
Which means,
means I'm technically the most important person in Lambeth.
Technically.
so no one
Yeah.
can touch you in Lambeth, basically.
Nah, could they anyway? No, I'm joking. I'm not trying to try and get people
Well,
excited.
that's why
and
he's
try.
still got the chain on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but
But
so-
basically, that's the definition of what you're saying.
100%.
Right?
So that means like, if there's any, I don't know, if there's a nuclear war, I'm the first in the bunker. Like,
Right.
I'm the most.
It's your bunker.
Yeah, basically. So I'm the figurehead of the council. So I'm the person that represents when we get foreign dignitaries come in. So I was meeting with the Chinese delegation. They came from China to Lambeth. They want to do some interesting work. Yeah, they wanted to explore and see how we can collaborate on different things.
He's
I
like,
meet with
he's like
them.
the colonel for KFC.
What?
Like the figurehead, isn't it? The colonel of
That's
KFC.
a bad example, bro.
Why?
That's what the hell
His
is
face
that?
is actually on the logo.
Yeah,
Like, he's actually the actual figurehead.
but my face isn't on this.
See what I'm saying? He's because he's
Wait.
not young no more like that, you know what I mean? He's
No, but
pushing the...
so I'm the person that meets with people. If royals come to the borough, I meet with them. I'm the person that meets and just tries to uplift some charities, raise money for certain charities. So I've got 2 charities I'm supporting this year, which is Brixton Street Gym and Young People Matter, YPM, which is based in Stockwell. Just like doing loads of like really cool creative things with.
Can you just
different
go a
organisations.
bit deeper on what you just said? Young People Matter. What are you?
So that's an
what you're working
organisation.
on?
So they're an organisation that's based in Stockwell. I used to play for the used to have a little football team and play for them when I was in like year 9, based on my estate. But they do really good work with loads of young people around like half terms, after school programs and stuff like that, to look after them. And yeah, they're really good. And Brixton Street Gym as well is a very cool organisation. Works obviously around fitness and body and mind and stuff, but also acts as kind of like a hub and a connect for other organisations working in the community as well. So they're very holistic things. It's not just gym.
So what, are you second citizen then?
Nah, I'm just
Are you top 10?
Top 10.
maybe. I'm like
Top
Man
63.
United right now. You know what I mean? Just floating between 10 and 12.
So you're 14.
What do your friends and family say though, by the way? When you
Me as
became
man.
mayor, like how was that for them?
No,
Or are they
were-
like, whatever? Or
Nah,
are they like,
they were gassed, obviously. So I had my dad's side is from Ireland, so loads of them came over for when I became mayor, so that was cool, taking loads of pics. My friends were excited as well. It's weird. There's like my friends, when we went to like Lambeth Country Show, and in the summer, my friends came to hang out with me in the town hall and stuff, and they were asking permission. Can we do this? I was like, bro, I'm the mayor. We can do it. Yes, we can do that. Like, who are you asking if you can do something in my room?
Oh,
It's
that's
my,
a flex.
like he was sitting down on the chair and he was like, wait, can I open the window? I was like, bro, yes. Like if you want to open it. Like it's my room. We can do what we want.
Yeah.
But it's like that
yeah.
kind of like frame shift in terms of like what you're allowed to do and what you're now responsible for. And that kind of position is something that I saw was quite interesting with people, trying to change their perspective on what it means to be someone in a position of power.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's what you said you wanted to be as well, right?
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
wanted to be on the other side of the coin
Mhm.
just to see what it's like, you know? And with that being said, right? Do you believe it's possible for any young person from any background to do what you did?
100%.
You know, just for that person who's on the other side, a
Yeah.
young person, because we all believe that young people can do it too, right?
Mhm. So for me, like I'm someone that, so I grew up in Stockwell and Brixton, from a council estate. No one in my family before me has gone uni. I went uni and dropped out as well, so I don't have a degree. I almost got kicked out of school. In sixth form, I almost got
Wow.
kicked out. Repeated the year in sixth form. Then they tried to kick me out. There was only one teacher that saved me. So like my journey is not like a typical journey you would assume.
Exactly.
So 100% anyone can do it. You don't need any particular degree or qualifications. You just need to care. And as long as you care and you want to be here, me and Hashi as well are like advocates for that as well. So we can help you. Anyone in Lambeth, if they're interested in a young person, we'll help guide you.
Dr. Hashi, before you fall asleep there.
No, I'm not. I'm in deep thought.
Oh, I like that. Because I got a question for you. What is the biggest challenge you face as a councillor?
I think it's people's perception of what the role is.
Okay.
And for me, sometimes, people think because you're a councillor that you automatically can, totally make all their issues disappear like there's no process. And for me, that's, especially from people from my community and my background, they feel like that the most. So, for example, they'll be like, Hash, you're a councillor, innit? Bro, I need a house. like, what? Yeah, my house is overcrowded, man. Like, I'm living there with my 2 kids in a 2-bedroom. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, compared to some of the challenges people
Well, you
are
can
facing,
understand why someone would possibly just think that maybe you have access.
Yeah.
Or what I would think, let's say, I imagine I'm like your little cousin or whatnot. I would ask you these things just because maybe in my head, right, I believe, again, like you said, that perception, that you have access to these people easier than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Or that you have a contact that might have a contact that might be able to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
So it might come from that.
Right. So it's
you know?
like
Right.
having a cousin that's a footballer and then assuming that you're the only one asking them for tickets to the match.
Yeah, but I'm gonna.
You see what I'm saying?
But you don't
think you're
expect
the
your
only
cousin. You don't expect your cousin
Are you
to
the only
bring you
cousin?
in.
I'm Somali. There's bare cousins. Hundreds.
Yeah, but that's you know how our
All over the
culture
world.
works as well. That's
But my point is, sometimes I don't feel like putting that burden on someone in that way is fair.
I know, but
We have 320,000 residents in Lambeth. Imagine if you become the favourite for someone to bring their problems. And what people often forget is that you're human, that you've got a capacity. Do you know what I mean? Like some of the challenges that you have to deal with within your personal life, let alone the fact that you're a councillor. People will call you at any time they want, email you anytime, and often with serious problems. So my thing always is about trying to
But
teach
that comes
people.
with it, no?
No, it comes with it. But again, it's like sometimes the burden could be so much that you might decide not to be a counsellor no more. Then where's the benefit to people? And for me, sometimes I don't feel like people really think about you as a human anymore. They see you as only as a counsellor.
But that's any person who moves to a position of power
Exactly.
or wealth. That happens to all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm sympathetic to all of them, because I used to be the person on the other side shouting because of the things that I thought I deserved and my community deserved. And this has been a real eye-opener, because I used to think, you're a counsellor for the area, I'm your resident, you need to help me out. Without understanding.
Yeah, the expectation is bad.
The expectation is bad, but also there's a system behind it. So what your counsellor actually is, your counsellor is the amplification of your voice. They're not necessarily the person that can make everything happen. They're a person that has access to make your voice louder so it's heard by people that can. So for me, a lot of the work that I've done since I became a counsellor is teaching people about the process. Send emails. I'll forward in the email to a relevant person. I might meet with that person to gain a better understanding. So, for example, with the housing thing, for example, we've got 40,000 people on our waiting list for approximately 500 homes. So
40,000 for 500 homes.
40,000 for 500 homes. The Conservatives were in power for almost 15 years and didn't build a single house. How are we going to be all right?
Yeah, but you can understand why someone, again, you was on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't understand the process. Now that you're on this side, you get the process.
100%. So
educating people on how the process works is what's going to help that message to come across, right?
But also for me, I was, in hindsight, I'm a bit embarrassed that I didn't just do a little bit of work to understand the process before going to the councillors and before presenting these issues. And I think that's something that should be taught maybe in school.
Yeah. I
Do
mean,
you know
that's,
what I mean?
yeah.
There's a real gap in understanding of the role. Do you know what I mean? And for me, even becoming a councillor, even before you get elected, you get selected. Before you get selected, do you know what I mean? You have to be a member of a certain group or party. It's a real deep process, a number of processes side by side. And people don't understand it because all they often see is just the name on the ballot, ticket, and then walk out. So like I said, for me, there's a real education gap that I think has to be taken up.
Okay. That's a good point. That's a good point because, like I said, the person on the other side just thinks that you're a person who's in a position of power, who can get things done, who can pull the strings.
See, I don't even think they see you as a person anymore sometimes. And for me, that's one of the messages I always...
How do you deal with that then on a personal level?
I'm quite deeply religious, if I'm honest. So I give that burden to God. And I ask that as long as I'm of pure heart and good intention, that God protects me. And I'm comfortable with that. So I don't mind people being upset with me as long as I know I've done my best. But also, one of the key messages that I push is to be kind to each other. And sometimes people, depending on what you look like or how they perceive you, decide whether or not they apply kindness to the approach. I've met some wonderful people going through some horrible situations that have approached me in the kindest way ever. And that's really like that. Imagine someone going through something horrendous. Maybe they're homeless. Maybe they're sleeping in a park. Maybe they're going through domestic violence and had to flee their whole life and change everything. But they're still saying, sorry to disturb you. I know you're really busy, but do you know what I mean? And then there's people that are saying, I messaged you this morning. You ain't got back to me. You're like, what? Like, I'm on my way into work. Do you know what I mean? And it's those different attitudes. And I think in society, generally, we've lost the kindness to each other. We've lost the empathy that, is just because someone is a member of parliament, you don't know if they lost their parent, lost their partner. You don't know if they're going through grief. You don't know what their mental health is like. But we assume because they're in a position of power and influence that we can chat to them or approach them however roughly we want, which is not the case. We have to always remember that people are people first and their job second.
That's true. You need to say that again.
That was too complex for me.
No, as in people are people first.
Yeah, people are people first.
That's something that people need to really understand.
Your occupation is something you do, not who you are necessarily.
Ooh, you said that.
No, some
Dr.
guy
Hashi.
called
Dr.
Hashi.
Hashi. Yeah.
2024.
Interesting. So that's what I was asking about friends and family. Like he was just saying, people might treat you different. Have you not experienced anything like that? Maybe friends, maybe particular individuals who might have looked at you completely different since you've been in this position?
So I've had a couple people like message me and be like, "Oh, can you plug my business? Can I get a contract at the council to do this, do that?" So I'm more like, I can't do that, but I'll chat to you about what your idea is, what you're trying to do, because then maybe there's other ways I can help you or support you. But I can't wave my magic wand to make it happen.
Right.
And then, but other than that, no, not really.
How did they respond to that though? When you say,
they ain't shouted me. So they wanted the easy plug, but they ain't shouted me since. I've offered them actual sit down talk work. But then I had a weird experience here. Someone who went to my school, who I haven't spoken to in time, messaged me. They didn't message me actually. I don't want to bait out the situation.
Yeah, we just don't say.
Nah, if I talk about it too much, the way it's so specific. Yeah, but it's so big. But basically,
spill the beans. Spill the beans.
Basically,
exclusive.
No, basically, like they wanted me to come and talk to the kids at their school. They're now a teacher. They wanted me to come and talk to the kids. I was like, yeah, that's calm. Like me and this person we went through up and down phases of friendship. Like we're never like best friends, but we were cool.
We all have friends like that. Don't watch.
Yeah, we're cool. It's not that deep. So then they added me on Insta again, and then didn't message me, but then got a young person from their school to get in contact with me to say that this teacher knows you, they want you to come, but then doesn't want to be the person that, I think they don't want to feel like a beg. They don't want to be the person that asks me. So they're trying to go through the young person and doing some roundabout thing, which is weird because if I wasn't the mayor, they wouldn't do that. They'll just shout me. But because I'm mayor, then I'm like, I don't want to beg the mayor, like, and because they feel like there's some weird now that power dynamic or something. It's weird. Like,
did you go to the school?
I haven't been yet, but I will.
So they kind of had a point. And...
What?
No.
Because they didn't send it. Like but the thing is, then I was like, there's like a process to invite me as mayor. You got to email the office. They might send you a form about what do you want the mayor to do, all of that. And then the young person was like, do I have to? Can I do it, or does the teacher have to do it? So then I already know the teacher's told them that they doesn't want to do it. So then it's like. Yeah.
But that's what I mean about the processes as well. People
just assume it's like that.
But the thing is,
you can just pull a plug and it's done.
Yeah, but the thing is, if he assumed that, he would have just shouted me on Insta, but he hasn't. So it's also, I think, just a bit of a weird, like, negative interaction. But.
Do you guys feel like you have changed at all after being in a position? Because
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
In what way?
I feel like
it doesn't have to be for the.
No, I feel like I'm a lot more measured. Yeah, no, do you know, I feel like I'm a lot. I was a wild guy before I became a politician. I'm not gonna lie to you. I used to say whatever I wanted, as long as it's how I felt. That was my rule, and that's not even right. Do you know what I mean? And so I remember I used to go to meetings and get mad at police and be shouting down, like shouting at them, like. And this is where I'm getting this point of be kind. Like I didn't see police as humans. I don't think I just saw them as oppressors. That was it. And as a result, I dealt with them like that very harshly because I'm like, you're almost erring on the side of evil. I've been stopped and searched almost 100 times. You know, every time I've been dealt with roughly, and I wanted to kind of almost get some payback. And it's until I became a councillor and I've worked with them across the table and seen some really good officers, like people like Nigel Pearce, who's one of our sergeants in Lambeth. Amazing person, first and foremost. Amazing person. And as a result, you can trust him as a police officer because he's such an amazing person. And for me, I didn't really experience that before because I never came across police in like moments of peace. It was always something's happening. They think I've done something. Do you know what I mean? They're running around. Then you look at the context of the cuts to policing. They've lost 27% of their workforce since 2010. That's like just in London. That's 3,000 less police officers, less pay, more danger, more crime, more violence. You're like, how they're working don't really sound sustainable. So you can imagine how they feel as people coming into work to go and face people trying to stab them or people shooting up. Do you know what I mean? So for me, becoming a councillor really made me reflect on the world and society and how we interact with each other. Because up until then, I was very into myself and into the things that affect me daily and the things that I see. And if I didn't see it, it weren't my problem. another quote by Dr. Hashi.
I think for me, I changed a little bit with I think when I first became a councillor, I felt a lot of like imposter syndrome. I think since
In what syndrome?
imposter.
Okay.
So like coming into the space, I didn't really know what was going on.
Right.
I knew I was one of the youngest councillors as well. Everyone who was
Pressure? You feel a bit of pressure?
yeah, and then also everyone who was kind of in the space seemed to know what was going on. They seemed, or they're like proper like political nerds.
Can
Like-
you explain imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so like just feeling uncomfortable, a place that you don't belong into
Right.
a space. You walk into a space, you feel less knowledgeable, or like you're not meant to be there. You shouldn't be there. So that's how I felt going in. When I first became a councillor, and I was quiet. So I think everyone assumes I'm a very quiet person, and I'm a very like laid back person. But I think over time, like coming into my show a bit more and just being like, you know, I'm here for a reason, kind of thing. And I do know a lot, just generally, and that's why I want to be in these kind of positions.
Right.
And I have a lot of experience in loads of different things. But I think a lot of people, when they come from certain backgrounds, or if you're not used to being in those types of spaces, you can feel like you don't belong. And so that's a big change over time that's happened. I feel a bit better now. Maybe I think the gold chain helps, you know what I mean? You can't walk around without confidence in it, do you know what I mean?